I've often heard people say, people are different. Bullshit. People are people. It don't matter your ethnicity, your race, your orientation, your place on the gender spectrum, where you're from, what it boils down to, because we are all the same race. We are all of the human race, and it comes down to our experience and our beliefs that shape who we are and our actions. In other words, it's what we've been through and what we incorporate into our perspective, into our respective psyche, that will dictate and determine what type of individual we are. And so we have created a system in which we've elevated other people who are just people, like you, her, him, them, and I, into positions of power over other people. For example, law enforcement officers or any governing body. Any governing body that, for all intents and purposes, was orchestrated long before those of us who are here now. A system that was devised generations ago in some circumstances, and in a more broad scope, just generations ago. Say, policing has evolved exponentially from the 1950s, 60s to present. However, we will note the similarities between said times, 60s and so far the 2020s, with the amount of civil unrest, the amount of talk and chatter about defunding the police. However, since the George Floyd riots, since the cities were burning to the ground in chaos back in 2020, talk of police reform has all but been silenced. Now, being silenced and going silent are two different things, and which one it is, granted, is to be determined, which is why we invite all of you to participate in the discussion of spiritual politics, where we can develop a spiritual political philosophy and attempt to see things through a clearer lens. Going to court is never a guaranteed experience. In other words, one never quite knows what's going to unfold. Having been to court on a multitude of occasions, we are familiar enough to know what to expect. However, the outcome of each case was not set and dry until the sentencing was carried out by a judge. Fortunately, our experience with being on the wrong side of the aisle has been very limited since we graduated our 8th inpatient treatment for our disease, drug and alcohol addiction. We were a heroin junkie. It was our primary DOC, drug of choice. And fortunately, we have celebrated 3 years of consecutive recovery time away from dope, away from any non-prescribed substance. And this is the longest amount of time we've had since our first day in court when we were 13 years old for a minor in possession. The first of a long string of charges that would ensue over the course of 17 years. Now, God willing, 14 of those years were full of, once again, that uncertainty, that unexpected sense of chaos. Being wrapped up in the court system yet again, in recovery, is something that we never thought we would have to experience. Talking with our father, retired Seattle detective, 27 years on the force, and he tells me, "Don't worry too much, son. The judge, we all sit down to shit." And I thought about that, and it really prompted some self-reflecting on what my experiences and my beliefs are, so I can better understand who I am and what I do. If one's experience shapes one's perspective, well, one would have to come to the conclusion that dissecting said experience could only further help enhance said perspective. Yes, we were shaping our perspectives. As the son of a police officer and an alcoholic, our disease began its career when we were about 13 years old, as did our criminal arrest record, having our first charge, a theft in the 3rd degree of a everything bagel from one Star store. We remember it like it was just last week. We had inadvertently put an everything bagel into the inside pocket while talking to Sebastian, our jolly overweight friend, and once we got off the phone, we forgot the bagel was there. At least that's how we remember it. We admit we may have convinced ourselves of that over the last 18 or so years. However, we do remember the manager promptly grabbing us right outside the exit, calling the police picking us up, and rather than going 2 buildings down to the left to the police station, they drove to the right around the entire block, proceeding to show us off to all of our peers. Arriving at the police station, we don't remember what followed that very well. We do remember our day in court when we had to testify to a black and white picture of a bagel, side view and front view of an everything bagel, and we affirmed that yes, Your Honor, that was indeed the bagel, at least that's what it looks like. However, there was no way to be sure that it was really the bagel. And yes, we do remember being a smartass like that, and that may have been part of the problem. However, it didn't stop there, as minor in possession charges soon followed. We didn't get arrested every time we were drinking, but every time we got arrested, we had been drinking. It took us a long time to realize that statement. It's through hindsight and an honest curiosity and inclination to inspect one's own life. When someone asks, "Who are you?" the answer to that is determinant upon what we believe, who we believe we are, not our name, not our social security numbers, not our picture on our passport or driver's license. We are more than the written recording of a human entity. We are a sovereign body. We are a sovereign spiritual body that is navigating through a plane that has been operating eons before we can even fathom. This is the continuing narration of an ex-junkie, newly diagnosed schizophrenic, new father of a brand new baby girl, and the proud papa of music. This is the discussion for co-occurring illnesses that plague not only our country, but more specifically the youth of our country, for it is the young minds now that we see being targeted more and more by politicians and special interest groups. We see the minds of the youth as something to be protected and cherished, but more importantly, to be placed into the responsibility of parents. It is apparent to us now, as a parent, that parents' rights are of the utmost importance. And that is not only because we have experience personally going through a crooked court system dealing with a woman who has opened our eyes to the true terrors and depths of people's souls. To have gone through and experienced and survived what we did from 2018 to 2021. We're blessed to be here. We're blessed to be stronger for it. We worry every day about music. Music is our life. Music is our love. We, as dad, admit that our recovery program is largely based on our children, and that is because, as a parent, we know how vulnerable and how beautiful and vast our children's minds and personalities are as they're slowly developing, whether we get to see them from afar via pictures and videos here and there because we're not in the prospective lives of our children for one reason or another, whether it be a mother with spiritual struggles just like anyone else that sees fit to create bold lies in order to keep away the father's family, the multiple fathers' family. 4 fathers, 4 different dads as families to keep them out of the picture of their grandchildren and children. Or maybe it be that you put your child up for adoption and you aren't in your child's life, but you are aware that you raised this, you grew this little being, and that they are now alive and making their own choices, developing their own beliefs, and becoming their own people. Immortal Technique once said, the mind of a child is where the revolution begins. And if that's true, we really, really need an introspective look into where the ultimate responsibility lies. Is it with the governing body of a preordained administration or a school board? Or is the responsibility left primarily with the individuals that brought said child into the world? The mother that grew the child and the father that nurtured and started the child. See, we have vast differences of opinion here, even in the West, as when we look towards our northern cousins over in Canada, what we see is a system in place that is, quote unquote, to protect the children from their parents, end quote. Rather than what we see here with CPS and other services sponsored by local and federal governments to protect children from parental abuse. It is a vastly different approach when we are now seeing teachers bestowed with the power to discuss the gender spectrum on the Trojan horse of the genderbread person, or it's not the gingerbread man anymore, folks. It's the genderbread person. Or the gender unicorn. Whatever the case may be. Drag shows in schools, literature flooding the shelves of libraries of elementary and intermediate schools filled with insanely sexually explicit material. There's countless hours of parents at school boards across this nation, some of which we posted right here on Damn Talk, discussing the ramifications of allowing our children to read such things. And then reading them while at an institution, so to speak, in which they're going to go discuss said material with their elected officials or teachers. So what we're proposing is not that we need education reform, although it's close. What we are proposing is that we generate a discussion as parents to determine exactly where the line is drawn. What category does truth fall into? What role does responsibility play? And to what extent is it the responsibility of the government, essentially, through public education, to mold the minds of the future? Folks, we are all for liberation and being who we truly want to be. We can sympathize and empathize with those who struggle with their identity, for as a Pisces on 3692, we are all too familiar with the struggle of self-identity and discovering of a spiritual being having a human experience. We grew up not in any one denomination, though we did say grace every night before dinner. We grew up not going to church on Sundays, though we did spend Sundays together in the yard playing sports or working in the beautiful Pacific Northwest. We didn't go to a charter school or have a private education, but we did thrive amongst our peers personally while struggling to develop an identity that was not yet fathomable, to decipher our place in a preordained system amongst others such as ourselves. Same age, same height, same color, same sex, different height, same color, different age, but not by much, because all we had in common was we were in this together, in an experience shared by students and teachers, and that experience carried into community college after high school, after 2010 graduating. Shout out South Woodby Falcons, I believe. Yeah. Life can be a trip, and sometimes what we really, really needed was what we never thought we wanted. To be a damnly man. And a damnly man provides for his family only like a family man can. In fact, a damnly man provides for his family only like a damnly man can. This is Damn Cam, a damnly man, from Damn Talk. That's DAAMNTALK, where people proceed information. We invite you to come shout out at us. We can chop it up and we can chop it up and compare perspectives. I mean, we can prepare perspectives too, though I don't know how far we'll get. Check out thatdamntalkspot.locals.com. Locals.com is a alternative to the big tech platforms such as Facebook, such as Twitter, such as Instagram. Locals.com is made directly for individuals such as us and you, people who want content right from the creator, people who are creators that want to collaborate with other creators. In fact, Damn Talk is offering the chance to join the community for only $2 a month. You can communicate directly with anyone in the community as well as ourselves, post directly on the community wall, as well as monetize your content and be able to generate a real income from your contributions to our website. And so you can publish your work and people can tip you. And you can generate some sort of money during this insane economic time. That's not the real That's not the real hook, line, and sinker. The hook, line, and sinker is we've always been for free speech, and we've seen the mass censorship going on disguised as shadow banning or at-risk algorithms. We've seen the threat to our stability as a nation and as a spiritual body. The United States doesn't have much of a culture. We didn't go through much of a rite of passage here when we turned 18, other than the occasional pack of cigarettes and a scratch ticket. But what we did have was the fact that we were in it together. We were amongst our peers, discovering ourselves, determining our beliefs, and discovering who we were together. Then we were thrust into a world of different-minded, different-aged, but same-peopled society, being dictated by elected officials who many of us don't participate in the process. However, they are the ones that are determining what it is our children are learning and who our children are becoming, what our children are doing. They are the ones that are allowing what our children can take in through literature and online content and in classrooms where American flags are being replaced with rainbow flags. As we said, we are all for people being who they want to be, and we respect the right of an individual to ask to be referred by certain pronouns, but to impose such pronouns and to impose such education into the vulnerable minds of elementary school students is beyond fathomable. It is inexcusable, and it is a fight that we will continue to be involved in and feel ever more passionately about as we raise our daughter and determine the cadence of this song that we are all in the process of recording together. And this is a musical. Life is a musical. So listen to the music. Love the music. We got to figure this thing out one day at a time.
Hey, it's Damn Cam. Thank you for watching. Make sure you go to damntalk.com as well as locals.com to check out the Damn Talk community, where we have all original content not available anywhere else, as well as the ability to monetize. That's right, if you join our community, you can post and make money from your posts. We're talking only $2 a month right now because it only takes 2 to talk. DAAMNTALK. Where people precede information.
Chronic pain, you'll never know. I'm wasted and I'm broke. Displacement in a base.